Well, hi. So I want to show you guys how I made these little gift card holder sweaters. So I'm going to just show you really fast how to make these. They whip up in no time using scrap yarn, which I have plenty of scrap yarn. Okay, so let's get started. What you're going to need is a sewing needle, of course, two scrap pieces of yarn for stitch markers, a pair of scissors. I'm using a 4.5 millimeter crochet hook and some scrap worsted weight yarn. So we're doing single crochets for this little sweater, and that's basically what we're doing. So we will start with the yoke of the sweater. And if you guys wanted to make the sweater larger, which this sounds very goofy, but if you wanted to make this in a larger size, I actually have a video tutorial on how to customize a top-down raglan sweater so that you can create a pattern yourself, and I'll leave that in the description below. It's very helpful, I think. It just requires you to do a bit of math. So we will start with a slip knot, and we are going to chain 18 to begin. So 3, all right, that's my chain of 18. So we're going to make sure that our chain is not twisted up at all, and we will slip stitch into the first chain we made. Now we will start the pattern, and this is a repeat. You repeat this twice. I'm going to chain 1 and single crochet in the next 2 stitches, making sure I single crochet into the spot I chained up from as well and slip stitched into. So single crochet 2. In the next stitch, I'm going to do an increase, a single crochet increase, so I'm gonna single crochet twice into the same stitch. And that's the first half of the repeat. Now we will single crochet 1 in the next 5 stitches. Okay, and then we will increase in the next stitch. So work 2 single crochet into the next stitch. And then we will work a single crochet into the next 2 stitches. Basically repeating what's in the asterisk portion of the pattern, because I'm going to write the pattern post filming into the screen. Okay, that's 2 single crochet and then an increase. Now we will work 5 single crochet and then increase in the last stitch. Right, that's 5, and then increase in the last stitch. What is that? Here. Increase in the last stitch. And that's what it looks like to begin. This is what a yoke would typically look like, and then you just like fold it over and make the sleeves. So we're just going to continue increasing the yoke of this sweater, because at a certain point we're going to fold this over and connect this front side to the back side to make some little sleeve holes. It's a bright time, it's the right time to make a little sweater. Okay, so I am going to slip stitch into the first single crochet of the beginning of the round that I started with, whatever that meant, and start round 2. So round 2, I'm going to chain 1, single crochet 1, 2, and 3. So at every round it will increase, the stitch count will increase by 4, and it will increase 1 stitch in between the increase. Does that make sense? So I have 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to increase. Now I'm going to single crochet 6, 1 in the next 6, and increase. And increase right here. Now I'm going to single crochet 3 and then increase in the next stitch. So I'm going to single crochet 6 and then increase in the last stitch and then slip stitch. Two, 4, 6, and then increase into the last stitch and slip stitch into the first single crochet that was made in the beginning of the round, right there. So I'm going to work another 2 rounds, so 3 and 4. I'm just going to keep repeating what I just did. Single crochet until I reach the increase, which is 4 single crochet, and then increase in the increase. So just single crochet 4, and then I'm going to increase right here. Single crochet 7, and then increase in the next stitch. Single crochet 4, and then increase in the next stitch. And I'll leave the stitch count in the brackets like I usually do, so you guys can count your stitches it is kind of important to count your stitches for this because you're going to section off a portion of this to make sleeves and to make the body of the little tiny sweater. And like if you guys wanted to make a full-size sweater, this is basically a similar concept that you can follow. So I'm going to single crochet 7 and then increase in the last stitch. I already made 3 stitches and then I made 4. 7 and then increase in the last stitch. Now we will slip stitch in the first beginning stitch to join the round. And that should be 30 stitches all the way around. And it's starting to form that little yoke of the sweater in the top. Right there. And a gift card will fit through here easily. So, yeah. So I'm gonna do my last round of increasing. And we will single crochet into the stitch we slip stitch and chain from. So we're single crocheting 5. And increasing in the next stitch. We're single crocheting 8. What is this? So we're single crocheting 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we're increasing in the last stitch. Now we will be single crocheting 5 and then increasing in the next stitch. And then we will single crochet 8 and then increase in the last stitch and slip stitch the round closed. And then you should have 34 stitches at the end of this round. And then we're doing that increase. So we made the last increase of this round and we're going to slip stitch to close that. Okay, now we're going to make the armholes. So what I like to do is I like to loosely slip stitch until we get to the middle of this increase right here. And that's going to be 5 slip stitches that we're going to do, but we're going to work on them loosely because we're going to want to go back into these stitches later on to do the armhole because we're going to close this and then we're going to work around this armhole area. So we're going to slip stitch 5 but loosely. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that brought me right next to the increase. You can see that. So that's the increase right here. These are those 2 stitches we made. and this is where we are. So after you slip stitch, after you work your slip stitches, you should put your stitch marker. Put your stitch marker here so that you know where the beginning of the round is. I'm going to insert my hook in between the increased stitches, and I'm going to count 27 stitches across. Together we'll do that from the stitch marker. So don't count this stitch that has the hook inserted, but do count the stitches preceding. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, and then this is the 27th stitch. The 27th stitch, you will put your hook from behind and insert it. And the 27th stitch is actually the middle stitch of the increase. It should look like this. With your slip marker, stitch marker, this is where the tail started, and you're inserting behind to make the little sleeve openings. And you're just going to single crochet these 2 layers close together. And then this little sleeve opening will be 8 single crochet stitches around. So we will proceed on this side of the little sweater to make the front or back side depending on where you flip it. And I'm going to single crochet 9, 2, we have 9. Okay, now the next stitch we would have single crocheted into is actually the increase, and it's the stitch in between. And so we're going to insert our hook into the next stitch, and we're going to count 7 stitches from the hook. So we have 2, 4, 6, and this is the 7th, and we're inserting behind it, and not coincidentally, this is the stitch in between the increasing stitches that we did. So we're going to single crochet the 2 layers closed and actually mark this stitch off. So I'm going to place a marker in the stitch we just made, just to indicate that that's the place where we want to keep in mind we look at when we do our sleeves. So it's 1 stitch right there. So technically we have 11 stitches across this area. Because we did 1, we did 9, and we did 1 more, that's 11. So I'm going to turn the work slightly, or not even slightly, just completely. So this is the stitch we just created. And then I'm going to go in here. Right next to it is the same, basically the same stitch we just connected. But I'm going to single crochet here, and we're going to work 11 across. Let's do 3. 9, 10, and then this is the 11th stitch. So now we have a little crop top. I would say make this stitch marker a different color than this one, just because this is the beginning stitch marker. And if you would count your stitches, that would help. You should have 22 stitches all around the body of the sweater. And working the body of the sweater is a repeat. We're just going to move the stitch marker up every time. This was the stitch I removed the stitch marker from, so that's where I'm gonna start my work from. I'm just doing continuous rounds instead of slip stitching close, and we're just single crocheting in each stitch around, and there should be 22 stitches. If you don't have 22 stitches, that's okay. It doesn't matter that much. It's just this part of the sweater. It should be fine. And if you're worried about having the correct amount of sleeve stitches, just make sure you count both times you make the sleeves, and then you should be okay. So actually I'm going to remove this stitch marker because I don't need it. I'm just going to single crochet into each stitch around. And that will be for 7 rounds. So just repeat this until you have 7. This is 7 rounds of single crochet. Just 7 continuous rounds, no seam. And then we'll seam the bottom closed to give it a kind of raised ridge, and that way the card doesn't fall through. So just keep doing, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep crocheting around for 7 rounds, and I will meet you back when you have 7 rounds created. Okay, so this is 7 rounds of me just this is 7 rounds of me just single crocheting around. And when I was making it before, I noticed there's this nice like little curve thing going on. So how I remedy that is I'm just going to work 2 single crochet to kind of even the edge out. And then I'm going to just remove this. I'm going to fold these layers together and slip stitch both of these layers together. I should have 11 slip stitches. If you don't have 11 slip stitches, it's totally fine as long as you're slip stitching this closed. You could also sew it closed if you want. So I'm going in the next stitch, inserting, and then I'm going to insert into the stitch cross on the bottom layer and just slip stitch closed. And it's gonna give it this little sweater ridge on the bottom, which coincidentally is kind of cool. Just happened that way. So it should be like 11 slip stitches. Like I said, if it's not, it totally doesn't matter. It's not that serious. It's not that serious. So this is my last slip stitch, and I'm just going to chain 1, cut it by the tail. Okay, so I sewed in my ends because, you know, so if you wanted to make a little shirt, you're done. But if you want to add sleeves, continue with me. La la la. Let's do this. So, okay. I had ran into a problem when I was making my first sweater where this is the part of the sweater where we slip stitched to get to the other side of the sleeve. And this is the divot it gave me when I went in to the slip stitches. So why am I saying this? Because if you crochet this part will look wonky if you don't, you know. So like when I did this sweater here, you can kind of, it's less noticeable than with this one. Do you see what I mean? Like this is like a dent in the sleeve right at the part where it joins at the armhole area. So I'm going to show you how I avoided that the 100th time I made this sweater, I guess. Okay, so I will start at this part then. So I'm adding the color back, and I'm going to add it by making a slip knot and putting that slip knot onto my hook with the tail end on this side, on the right side, and the working yarn on the left side. Only because I'm going to do a standing single crochet. So I'm flipping it over. So I'm going to attach my yarn from the back side. So I'm just going into the stitch nearest the armhole, and I'm going to insert it with the hook, having the slip knot on the hook, and doing a yarn over, pull loop, half two, and then yarning over, pull through two, and that's like a standing, not like a standing, but that's a standing single crochet. And I like to leave this tail like kind of loose hanging because it shows me where my beginning of round is. Because these are slip stitches, I'm going to go into the actual stitch instead of the slip stitch. And that's how I avoid, and I'm going to, like that's how I avoid the bump, and I'm going to try and keep my tension tighter than I would normally, just to smooth that little bump down. And we should be single crocheting 8 around. So I already made 1, 2, 3, 4, so we should have 4 more. And like I said, we're going into the stitch instead of into the slip stitches on the top of it. It makes, like when you're feeling this, it actually has this like extra sturdy bumpiness to it, which I don't like, but 2, 4, 6, 7, and 1 more. So this is the stitch. You have to kind of look around for these. And then this is the stitch right here. This is 8 single crochet stitches. And we can count them just to confirm that. So, yeah. We have 2, 4, 6, 7, 2, 4, 6, and then, oh, it's not 8, so this is why counting is good. So that's 6, and I'm just going to go into the stitch directly under and do an 8th stitch. And we're just going to go back into the standing single crochet we made and just work around for 5 rounds total. And a stitch marker. Wow, it's like so loud here. I don't know if you guys can hear everything going on here. This is why I don't record video normally, because it's not a quiet time, not a quiet place. So I'm going to do 5 rounds of the sleeve. Yeah. Alright, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's the 5th. So that's the 5th round of the sleeve, and then I'm just going to slip stitch into the 8 stitches around to create that little cuff. And this project took me less than an hour to accomplish. So it's like a under an hour thing, unless it probably might be less because I've been stopping and pausing and stuff, so it might be a faster project than that. Obviously, depending on how much time you have to sit and work on projects and or how fast you crochet. These are really fast, cute, easy, and then we're not even counting the sewing time and embroidery time, but y'all can knock these out really quickly and they could be really nice ornaments. You could, like, if you're gifting someone a little sweater, you can make a miniature of it and then gift them the miniature and the big one in the same gift. That would be so cute. It could be like a little, I mean, you could use this as a doll sweater. I was also thinking of, I could stuff this and then create like a doll with it and make a head, decrease, make the neck, make the little hands. Sky's the limit. It's all up to our creativity. Now I'm gonna make another one and show it tomorrow, or like I said, work on the embroidery of all of this. But there's only like 4 ends to sew in, and if you do a continuous round and like all of that, you basically have the ability to hide your round or your seam, well, your tails when you're working. So what am I even talking about? I don't know. So yeah, this is my little sweater. I mean, you can like do a garland and do like sweaters holding hands. I don't know. You know what I mean? A little garland of sweaters holding hands. That'd be cute. A clothesline. You could do a little clothesline and put little pins here, and you could have little sweaters, and you could like do some like surface crocheting. So like you go like, you know what I mean? Surface crocheting where you're like, okay, wait, I need to learn to do surface crocheting. Alright, good night, bye.